I'm Michelle Lee, and we are about to get real.
On Real Talk.
On it now. I love it.
Of course, Jason and I, all we had to do is get a bunch of young guys.
I just saw, speaking of buck.
I'm up for the best Southern gospel hair in a bluegrass category.
I made this soup for you and I buried it.
It was awful. Oh my goodness. I cooked it for 2 days. It just never, it was horrible. No, oh my goodness.
I'm Michelle Lee, and we are about to get real here on Real Talk Bluegrass with Deanie Richardson. But first, I want you to check out my website, MichelleLeeOnAir.com. Got brand new merchandise available now, from sweatshirts to t-shirts to tank tops and ball caps. So check it all out at MichelleLeeOnAir.com. And find out also where you can tune in to the Smoke Country Jam, Bluegrass Borderline, and when you can catch the next episode of Real Talk Bluegrass, all on MichelleLeeOnAir.com.
There ain't no light on the blind side, and you know it just won't wait. You can't run, and you're running down your face.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle Lee, and it's about time we once again get real here on Real Talk Bluegrass. And I'm so excited and once again honored to welcome 2020 IBMA Fiddle Player of the Year, member of IBMA 2020 Entertainer of the Year, Sister Sadie, as well as Vocal Group of the Year, not for 1, but 2 years in a row. It's Deanie Richardson joining us here on Real Talk Bluegrass.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Deanie, how are you out there in Nashville, Tennessee?
I'm good. The weather here is as nice as it looks there for you, so I'm ready to get out there and dig in the dirt or do something.
You got to take some time away from music to play in the dirt and have some fun, right?
I do, and Thursday is usually my mow the grass or dig in the dirt, play in the garden, deal with the chickens, the bee, whatever I got going on.
It's such a great honor to be able to talk to you about a brand new album that you have out called Circle Up, the follow-up to your other spectacular album, Love Hard, Work Hard, Play Hard. Tell us about this album particularly, because this is full of amazing, great instrumentals, especially the first single that was off of it that happened to be on the Bluegrass Borderline's weekly top 10 chart, Walking in My Sleep.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back and just do like an old school fiddle record. You know, my last record had some guest vocalists on it, and I feel like we're all of us fiddlers are doing records where we got singers coming in and we're playing with those singers, which is incredible. And I loved getting to do that on my last record. But I wanted to go back and just do an old school instrumental fiddle record. And I wanted to kind of pay tribute to a time in my life when my brother and I were just doing a bunch of square dances. And he's a dancer. He's a clogger, dances on the Grand Ole Opry, has been since he was, 15, 16 years old. And we grew up going to these Saturday night square dances. And there he is, look at him, watching him and his partner there, Marcia Campbell. They've been dance partners since they were probably 12 years old. And just doing these square dances every Saturday night, and me playing fiddle for these dancers, and just how much fun that was, and how many great memories and lifelong friends that he and I made there. And so this record is dedicated to him and all those dancers and all those nights at that square dance. I love, Michelle, how we used to go they called it the Lebanon Square Dance, and it was a massive skating rink. And on Saturday night, they turned it into a square dance, you know. So this hardwood floor would have 100 people out on it. So that's 200 feet, for if you're lucky, I guess. 200 feet out there hitting the floor. And when the caller would start the dance, all those tap shoes hitting the hardwood just made the most percussive sound. And I'll never forget that sound, you know. And my brother danced all through the house. He danced in Kroger. He danced in Walmart. He danced everywhere. So I'll never forget that percussive sound of his feet to those fiddle tunes. And he heard those licks that I was playing, and he would match those licks or those rhythms with his feet. And so this record kind of goes back to, that just an old fiddle square dance record and Tommy Jackson style, and hopefully all my brother's friends and all the Opry square dancers that I get to play for will pull this out and put those shoes on and just go to town on some hardwood floor somewhere.
Oh, and when you think of all that you put into that and the song selection, of course, like walking in my sleep, an Arthur Smith tune,
Yeah. And I didn't even know that, to be honest, till Glenn Duncan told me. I didn't realize that was an Arthur Smith tune because I heard that tune on the radio one day by Lori Lewis. She cut that several years back, and she had vocals with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my grandfather played that tune. I remember that tune. And that is killer. Her version is just stellar. It just makes me want to start hitting on something. Anyway, I heard that in my truck and I instantly came home and learned it because I never really officially sat down and learned it. I played it with my grandfather. But I sat down and learned the tune, kind of the Kenny Baker version. And then I was like, I bet this would make a great square dance tune. So the next Saturday night I played at the Grand Ole Opry. I played that tune for my brother and all the dancers out there, and it worked great. So it had to go on the record, It was a perfect fit.
Well, and that's just like one of obviously the 12 tracks that are on this album, Circle Up. And now the cover of the cover of the CD is your brother and that from dancing and everything, which is, I think that's a great way to feature him beyond, paying tribute to him through this whole album.
Yeah.
But working with the artists, the musicians on this, thinking of who you wanted to be part of it, was it a hard decision? And selecting who you wanted to narrow it down to help you on this?
Well, EMG, this is on EMG's label, Englehart Music, and Adam and Glenn Duncan co-produced this record, and they have a group of musicians that they work with over there at EMG, and when we started talking about players, they told me who they usually get, and I'm like, well, that's fine with me. I mean, Cody Kilby, Scott Vestal, Casey Campbell, Dennis Crouch. I mean, you're not going to get much better than that. If you are, well, I don't really think you can. But anyway, I was totally down with that, totally good with that group of players. And I'd never been in a studio, I don't think, with Dennis, or Cody. So that was a fun thing. And I love Scott and Casey's playing. We grew up, that's Casey's mom on the cover of this record. So that's kind of full circle there, that he played mandolin and then his mom is on the picture with my brother. So anyway, it all worked perfectly, Michelle. I can't tell you how much fun it was to cut this record. And it's basically a live recording like they did back in the day.
Right.
We went in there and cut this whole thing in one day. Everything was done in a day. And I'm not talking a really long day. I'm just talking start at 10, and by I think 6 o'clock we were done, and the record was finished. So we didn't fuss over a bunch of stuff. There's things on there I hear, and I'm like, I probably should have redone that. But the energy was just so great, and once we started, it just fell into place, and everything. It's the way I think records should be cut. The energy is just there in those first few takes. And after that, you're kind of just beating it to death, and trying to perfect it. And I don't think music should be perfect. I think it should just be what it is at the moment, and like Walking in My Sleep ended up way faster than I anticipated it to come out. But that was the first song we cut, and everybody was just, the energy was high, and it came out great. I loved it. I loved it.
Now, of course, when you look back at some of the songs that you've written and the selection song, Dancing with James, that you put on this, that you wrote, was there any others that you thought maybe should have been on this album, or you were considering on the fence of putting on the album that you wrote?
No, I think just because this was a dance record, it had to have certain, the songs needed to all be able to. My vision was that every song on here you can dance to. There's a waltz, there's a two-step, every song you can do get on the floor and dance to. So the Dancing with James song, it's a nice story in that a friend of mine, Bill Tennyson, who I wrote Stony May with, Bill Tennyson has a special needs son who's, I think he's 14 now, and I've known him since he was born. And he's nonverbal, he can't walk, and anyway, just a really difficult situation, but a sweet little boy, and his name is James. So I was over there one day, and James loves music, and I just started playing around with my fiddle, and just he loves percussive things. So that I started doing that, just messing around with it, and man, he just started gyrating. You could tell he was digging it. So I wrote that song right there for him that day, and he was just dancing all over the place. So I called it Dancing with James, and I hadn't thought about that song in years. And then this record came up, and I'm like, I wonder if that tune will work. So I went back and revisited the tune and listened to it. I'm, oh yeah, let's do it. And it's percussive. It's exactly what I want. And I wanted something that was cross tuned, so my fiddle's tuned to D on this tune on Dancing with James. So it was a good fit. And the other tunes that I wrote, they were with Glenn. Glenn and I got together one afternoon for about 4 or 5 hours and just had the best time, had a blast just writing these tunes and telling stories and talking fiddles. And he taught me so much just in the few weeks that we took to prepare for this record. I learned more from Glenn Duncan than I have in years. So really love Glenn and always loved his playing, but never really spent a ton of time just picking his brain and getting to know him. But it was just fabulous. So the other tunes that we wrote were his, that he had either brought to the table or we sat there and hashed out that day, you know?
Right. Well, I've had some folks kind of wanted to ask you a couple questions, and one of them is about when you're working on the material, the songs. Do you have a special place where you kind of just go out and play and kind of get a feel of how you want the arrangements to work?
I go upstairs. There's a little room upstairs that's empty right now. It's got hardwood floors, and the reverb is fab up there. So I like to go up there and play. And I have a back porch, a screened-in back porch that I love to just be out there. And I tend to walk around when I'm playing and when I'm writing or creating. So I don't really sit still. I just walk around as I'm playing, or I might go out in the yard and play for the chickens. I don't know. You never know what I might do, what's inspiring me at the moment. A lot of times I'll be teaching in Nashville. I have this place I teach in Nashville. And if I have a break between students, I'll just mess around with a melody or something and then record it on my phone and just wherever the spirit hits me.
Have you ever had a chicken not like what you play?
Well, that's in the pot. I got some roosters that don't like me, but I don't know about that.
You have played and been on tour with so many amazing, great people in your career. And one person wanted to know, how was it when you performed and toured with Bob Seger?
Oh my gosh, it's a dream come true, really. I always wanted to do a rock and roll tour. You get these bucket lists throughout your career of things you really hope you get to do. And one of my things was a rock and roll tour, like a true, just how does this work? The private planes and the big arenas and what have you. But I never knew who that might be. I just knew that I wanted that to happen before I was done with this. So I was touring with Patty Loveless, played up in Detroit, and Bob is a Patty fan, so he came to one of Patty's shows up there and watched the entire show. I remember he was sitting side stage and just jamming, rocking out through Patty's show, and I got to meet him after the show. Well, then many years later, oh my gosh, probably 10 years later, he's doing a record that he wants to put some fiddle on. And here's a good full circle story as well. He wants some fiddle on this record, and he remembered me, I guess, from Patty. So he called and told the band leader he wanted to get me on this record. So thank goodness for Patty Loveless. She saved my butt many a times, and there she's certainly helping me out again. So I get to the studio, you guys, to do this record with Bob Seger. I'm nervous, just can't believe I'm about to play on a Bob Seger record. And who's playing banjo in the same room with me that day at Ocean Wave Studios was Glenn Duncan. So there sat Glenn and I in the same room, me playing fiddle, Glenn playing banjo on this Bob Seger record. Then fast forward 6 years later, there's Glenn producing my fiddle record. So life is crazy. Anyway, Bob was fabulous. He's a true musician and just a lover of music. And it was so inspiring for me to just experience his passion and his joy for music, and being in the studio with him and watching him. I mean, he gives everything he does 150% and sweating and just the most amazing inspiration I think I've ever been on stage with. There's been several people throughout my life who you just go, oh my gosh, these people just inspire you to no end. And he's one of those. And he loves bluegrass music, and it was a fabulous band, and it was rock and roll. You know, we had a private plane, and we stayed in fancy hotels and had great food, and we rocked hard every night. And he gave each show all he could give. And one thing I loved about him was we'd come out of each of our individual recording booths, and he would take over the control panel. He would like sit down at the control board in the studio and we'd listen back, and he would just be sitting there by himself and start moving faders so he could hear things a certain way, and then his fist would go in the air and he'd be pumping like nobody else was in that room but him, you know. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because it makes you fall in love with music all over again, and
Right.
realize, you know, how much you love this and how and why you do it in the first place, you know.
Well, exactly. And the fact that, you know, like you mentioned, you know, touring with him, Patty Loveless, you toured with the Chiftons, and, you know, now with Sister Sadie, it is pretty amazing to watch what you've done in your career and accomplished as well. I mean, IBMA Fiddle Player of the Year, 2020 with Sister Sadie, Entertainers of the Year, Vocal Group of the Year, and now also in the Country Music Hall of Fame during the
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and your guys' first trip to the Hall of Fame to see your guys' exhibit.
Well, you know, this whole year since the pandemic shut everything down, you know, we've all just been trying to survive, and I've amped my teaching up, you know, quite a bit, just trying to make a living. So the Opry shut down. There was no Opry, and then the Grand Ole Opry, and then Sister Sadie dates shut down. So just been teaching a lot. But throughout that, I've had an amazing career, an amazing year. So, you know, it's like everything closed down, but then we won all these awards, and I won the Fiddle Player Award. And then, you know, we get this news that we're going into this exhibit at the Hall of Fame. And I don't know, it's just like we had one of the best and worst years ever. But anyway, that was, I got an email. It was just, you know, you read an email like that and you're like, no freaking way.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't wait to send it to the girls, and because I got an email from the Hall of Fame saying that we were chosen to be in that exhibit. And it's just something like the Grammys, and like being on the Grand Ole Opry, and being in the staff band, and winning Fiddle Player of the Year. It's something and playing with Bob Seger and Patty Loveless and Vince Gill, the Chieftains. I mean, I've been so blessed my entire career. I've not had to do one thing that I didn't want to do. You know, I've been,
right.
All these things have landed right here in front of me, and been things that I really had on my bucket list, you know. So anyway, that to say, never stop dreaming, whether you think it might happen or not. Just keep that energy out there, you know.
And like thinking about all that has happened in not only in a year span, but your career. Another fan of yours asking, what else would you like to accomplish in your career?
Yeah. Man, that's, you know what? I would love to be on stage with Patty Loveless one more time.
Yeah.
I miss that, and I'm going to cry because I miss that and I miss her.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I'll be honest. The first time I ever saw her in concert, she was playing at a fair close here at home, and my gosh, it was just so
Yeah.
to see her perform. And every time you hear her voice, it's
Well,
just
there's something about hearing that voice right next to you and playing my fiddle with her voice because they're similar instruments, my fiddle and her, where her range hits and her vocal. It was a hard thing for me to learn to play with at first, but I think I kind of finally figured it out. And it's just one of those things that feeds my soul. It really is, just being on stage with her, looking over there at her and hearing that just lonesome, mournful, haunting, and strong and powerful and beautiful voice coming from her. And then just touching that with my fiddle is just, it's pretty amazing. So I would love to get to do that one more time. I hope that Sister Sadie can continue to make some records, and boy, it'd be nice to win a Grammy, and it'd be nice to continue to get to play on the Grand Ole Opry. I would love, my ultimate dream for those curious is to be a permanent member of that staff band out there. That's been a dream of mine since I was a little tiny girl. I had this school report, Michelle, that a teacher, I think we was third grade or fourth grade, asked us to write, if you could be anything in the world besides who you are, what would that be? Write me a paragraph about it. And my paragraph was, at the time at the Grand Ole Opry, there were these little pebbles that lined the backstage entrance. And my whole paragraph was about how I wanted to be one of those little pebbles so that I could watch the artist come in and out of the Grand Ole Opry every Friday and Saturday night. And then I would get to go backstage there and hang out as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. And I got to see those guys in person. And then I got to see that staff band. And I remember walking out on the side of the stage and seeing that staff band and watching that fiddler, who was Joe Edwards at the time, thinking, oh my God, that's what I want to do. I want to be a legitimate member of the staff band. And watching Loretta Lynn walk out there, and when she raised her arm and the flashes just went off, and I don't know, something about the Grand Ole Opry is magical and fascinating, and just a place that every time I'm out there, completely fills me up. So that would be my end game if there was one. Sister Sadie, keep rolling, keep making records. I would love to make more records. I'm constantly thinking about what's the next one going to be, and I've got a little idea about that. And I would love to do some collaborative things with some other folks, some other artists, and I don't know, touring. I don't really want to tour anymore. I don't really want to go out and do that. I'm doing about as much as I want to do with Sister Sadie. I have a 4-year-old here at home that I love more than life, and that's the most important thing to me right now, is just taking care of her. So
when you're looking at your career goals and the accomplishments that you've had, how do you instill that into your fiddle lessons that you provide for the young and old?
That's a good question, Michelle. That's a very good question. Well, I teach. I'm teaching about 40 students a week right now. It's a lot. And, not all these students want to do what I do. Some of them just, their parents want them to have music in their lives. And so they're doing some sort of music. And then the ones that are really serious, like, let's talk about Ivy Phillips. I don't know if you know Ivy Phillips, but Ivy was a student of mine. I started teaching Ivy since she was 4 years old, and she's now working with Pam Tillis, and I've got Sydney Perry, who was a student of mine, now works with Carrie Underwood. Casey Campbell was one of mine. Just got a lot of kids I've worked with who are up and doing amazing things. And I am just honored to have been a small part of that. And there is nothing more gratifying than seeing someone you have vested your time and just poured as much into them as I can give them. They're like little sponges. And I have several. John Mark Sowell right now is one of those little sponges that, I feel like I'm getting to see something from the ground up, and getting to witness and be a small part of his journey. And Marissa Coulter is another one out of North Carolina. Ruth Shumway out of North Carolina. Just have a lot of really good players I'm working with right now. And, I just try to remember how I learned and how I was taught. And the thing that these kids have right now that I didn't is YouTube, and they have so much access to easier ways to learn, like I was taking needles on records and moving it back and learning licks, and there was no slowing anything down, and now there's slow downers, and you can pretty much learn anything from anywhere these days. So I'm kind of a little hardcore, whereas I don't need to spoon feed you because you have way more advantages than I had at your age. And I expect a lot. And those that really want to do this work hard for me, and I expect them to. So
what continues to make you, what continues to inspire you to inspire the next generation and yourself as you continue on with your solo career and with Sister Sadie?
Well, I will tell you, teaching inspires me. Teaching kids like that, teaching kids that really want to play, teaching kids that have this gift and this natural ability. Like it or not, some kids just do. Some kids, it's a lot easier for them than others. They just have, and their parents can be zero musical. They can have no musical talent. And for some reason, the kid has this weird, thing that they just instinctively know. They instinctively have rhythm. They instinctively have pitch, and it's just easy for them. And you can tell who they are right away. You can show them something, and they're kind of looking around the room, playing it right back to you. Ivy was like that. So that inspires me, Michelle. Like seeing a kid who wants this as bad as I wanted it. It kind of takes me back to that point in my life, and seeing a kid who is soaking up everything I'm giving them. And then I'm learning something too. I learn something every single week that when I teach, I teach someone something. I'm like, oh, this makes more sense. Let's do it like this. Or, that's what that meant, or that's what, I've always heard, just every single week I learn something from teaching. So I find that very inspiring. And
so when you're not on stage, when you're not in teaching mode and in the studio, what does Deanie Richardson like to do to kick back and relax?
I don't relax. I am type A, rigid. I don't relax. Always going. And I live on a little small farm. I have 15 acres here outside of Nashville. I have a massive garden. I love growing things. I love growing food. I love growing organic food, no chemicals. I love the challenge of that. And I love feeding Meadow that food. And I love eating that food. And I can it and I put it up. And we eat all winter on whatever we got from the garden. Try to keep everything fresh. And I make my own pickled okra. Oh my gosh, I love pickled okra. And then I have bees. I'm a beekeeper.
Awesome.
I've always wanted to do bees. And
New?
what's that?
Is beekeeping something new for you?
I started last year during the pandemic. I've always wanted to do it, and always been a little scared of it. But when the pandemic hit, I'm like, well, let's do something new, like everybody else. So a friend of mine had some bees, and she caught this swarm and brought them to me, and it was my first year, and now I have honey that's from here at the farm, and I have chickens that Meadow and I are constantly dealing with, and raising chickens and fresh eggs. And I do these weekend fiddle camps.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be a student of mine, or you don't have to be a student of mine, but you come for the whole weekend. You get in Friday, you stay here at the farm, and we eat the fresh eggs and all the fresh food, and honey and whatever. And then we play fiddle all weekend. We learn, we play, we jam, and then you go home on Sunday. So that's all part of the experience, having all that stuff here. So anyway,
awesome. How does that? I mean, that is an awesome idea. Is like bringing them out to the farm and that one-on-one. I mean, that has got to be a great experience for both of you and the folks coming down.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. We work extensively and pretty intently on any issues that you think you have with your fiddling. These are all adults. I don't really do kids like that, but I've had several this month, and I enjoy it. I love it, and I love just bringing them out here and showing them the farm, and we get on the back porch and play and have some cocktails and have a good time.
So I had a listener that sent a message in and wanted to know who your favorite broadcaster is.
What's a broadcaster?
Well, someone who makes sure some amazing, great Deanie Richardson music gets played on either the radio or possibly on, Bluegrass Music TV.
I think I know someone.
Really? Who could that be?
Well, you might know her. Her name's Michelle Lee.
Oh, yeah, that name sounds very familiar. I've seen her on Knox Landing.
She's oh, really? Well, she does a really good job at spinning some Deanie music, some Tina music, some Jaylee music, some Sister Sadie music. So I guess that would be my final answer.
The final answer? We like that answer. I love getting real with you, Deanie.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to get to see you again in person, give you a big hug, because last time was right before the pandemic. I was down in Nashville for Leadership Bluegrass, and we had a chance to meet up one evening and get to visit and chat and everything. And then, lo and behold, you were supposed to be coming to the Mohican Bluegrass Festival in 2020. That didn't happen, got postponed, but you guys are definitely, Sister Sadie will be there at the Mohican Bluegrass Festival, September 18th. We are going to have a huge time on and off the stage, because it's always fun with you guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys come up to Ohio, to a beautiful part. Mohican is just a remarkable place, and the Wilderness Park is just spectacular right along the river.
Good.
And cannot wait to see you guys in concert and performing for the wonderful folks of Ohio, and then some that come from parts. And I want to remind people they can follow you on Facebook. Very active, obviously, dancing with the chickens, playing your fiddle out there on the farm, and showing a lot of great things that are happening for you. Plus, they got to check out your website, DeanieRichardson.com. Grab the Circle Up with EMG. An amazing, great album. Cannot wait to play more tunes off of this on the Bluegrass Borderline. And Deanie, I truly appreciate the time that you've given me today, and always great fun to visit with you. And I cannot wait to get to the Country Music Hall of Fame, to see American Currents, to see Sister Sadie's exhibit inside the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's pretty surreal and pretty amazing. So yeah, everybody out there needs to go check that out. It's pretty sweet.
Well, thank you again to the 2020 IBMA Fiddle Player of the Year, Deanie Richardson, for joining us here on Real Talk Bluegrass. Deanie, Again, have yourself a wonderful day. Get out there, take care of the bees, take care of the chickens, and, well, chase meadow around as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, you too, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
I want to remind you to subscribe to Bluegrass Music TV Prime. That includes Ronnie Reno's old-time music, the Bluegrass Hideaway, Real Talk Bluegrass, Wood Songs, and Heart to Heart. Find out all about the amazing great discounts right there at bluegrassmusictvprime.com, and also check out bluegrassmusictv.com. Don't forget to follow Real Talk Bluegrass, the Smoke Country Jam, and Bluegrass Borderline on all my social media outlets, as well as MichelleLeeOnAir.com. And be sure to check out Deanie Richardson on social media, as well as visit her website, DeanieRichardson.com. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Deanie Richardson, of course, being my special guest. Sammy behind the scenes, keeping things real as we got real here on Real Talk Bluegrass. Until next time.
Howdy, folks. I'm Ronnie Reno, and this is my dear friend, Sammy Passamano. Hey, Sammy, how do we find Bluegrass Music TV Prime?
Well, let's start by going to Google. Let's go ahead and open up a Google in your browser, and all you can do is type in Bluegrass Music TV. You'll hit enter, and it will be the very first one on the top. You can go ahead and click Bluegrass Music TV.
Cool.
What you're going to want to do from here, this is our website. You have two ways of finding it. You can click this down here, or you can go to the top in the menu and click the menu. If you're on a cell phone or if you're on a device, you can hit the three tabs and it's going to open up our menu, and you'll click Bluegrass Music TV Prime.
Cool. And then you just start watching. By the way, this is the new home of Reno's Old Time Music. How do we find Reno's Old Time Music Festival?
It's a good question. So you have two ways. You can scroll down and you can click on this image up here, right here, or you can go to the top and hit the browse button. It's probably the easiest just to go ahead and click the picture.
Right. Yeah, we're doing this by seasons. I think right now we have 2 seasons up, right?
We have 2 seasons, and what you'll do is when you come on here, you'll see how many seasons the show has. So right now, your show has 2 seasons up, and how you find the seasons is you'll click this tab right here,
right,
and then you'll go ahead and click on season 2, and then there's season 2. It pulls it right up.
Sure. Hey, we got a bunch of shows on there, Sammy. How do we get to all the shows?
Well, what I would recommend doing is go up here and hit the browse. So when you hit browse, this is going to take you to all the shows that we have up on Prime right now.
615 Hideaway. That's your shows.
This is my show. So we have my show, The Hideaway, the Bluegrass Hideaway, and you can scroll over and see the different shows. We have Wood Songs. We have Real Talk with Michelle Lee, where she gets real with all of today's latest and greatest people in the bluegrass industry, not just artists. We have she has songwriters as well. We have artist spotlights here, which will be adding individual music videos from time to time, videos on artists, about artists. And then we have your show down here, Ronnie Reno Live.
Sure. And each week we're going to be uploading a brand new show for everybody to sort of refresh everything. And we're going to be adding a lot more stuff. But, this will be a subscription base, Sammy, as you well know. How do people get to subscribe for this?
Well, there's a few different options. On the homepage, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and hit start watching now. You'll see that it's $4.95 a month, and you have 3 days of a free trial, so you can kind of test it out. Say you have a relative that you think would love this, and they might not know how to sign up. Well, you can also gift this too, if you feel like making a gift for a loved one.
Sure, that's wonderful. Well, we hope people are going to enjoy this new platform that we're providing for everybody. And if you love our kind of music and want to support it, well, then sort of help us do this. We want to thank you for the tour today, Sammy. Thanks for telling everybody what we're doing, and also thank you for supporting our new platform.
Thank you.